we want to create our update function. And within our update function, we're going to check, so if it's not converted and we're enabling conversion currently, we're going to convert to sprites. After that, we want to lock our variables just in case things are updated. And doing it after this ensures that numDigits doesn't get overwritten by whatever's in here. And then from there, if GameObject.transform.childCount is less than numDigits, so if our child count is less than what we want, we're going to create new digits. And then we can do else if GameObject.transform.childCount is greater than numDigits, we're going to delete old digits. And then what we want to do is if our numeric value is not equal to old numeric value, converted equals false. And then if space padding is not equal to old to last value padding, we're going to update our spacing. And then from there, we just do old numeric value equals to our current numeric value, and then last value equals space padding. And that's that. That is our function. That is everything. So now if we go into our project and we right click here, apparently I put the canvas on that. But if we put our canvas, we right click, create empty, timer display. We call it that. And we put it up here. And the first thing that we want to do is actually go to assets, create folder, and we're going to call it Prefabs. And so if you remember, actually, we had that object called default object. And so what we need to do is actually create a default object for our number display to use. And so the first thing that we're going to do is go to UI and text. And we're just going to make it, we're going to put it in the middle, right in the center of everything. Or wait, sorry, we're not going to do text. We're going to do UI and image. Now it's just going to be a normal image. And in order to test a few things, we're just going to go in here, go into anything you want. I'm going to go into Mario sprites and just set it to the coin object. And I want it to preserve the aspect ratio just to make sure that these numbers don't get too messed up. And so this is going to be our digit, is what we're going to call it. And we're going to go into our prefab folder and we're going to grab it and we're going to drag it in here, and that's our digit now. So we can delete this. Now we've got our timer display up here. So if we add NumberDisplayDefinition, and then we add digit as the default object, and then we set the no number image to, you know, whatever we want, like this. And if we just go ahead and delete that, there we go. Because it didn't, you know, the object we wanted to instantiate was null, it printed a bunch of errors because it wasn't set by default. But now what we can do is if we change this to like 4, 5, or 6, or 7, or 8, or 9, or 10, or 3, or 2, or 4. It's anything we want. So, and then if we just set it to 10, we change the space padding. As you can see, we can actually overlap them as well. And if we write in, we don't actually have our font sprites yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here. We actually have an entire font sprite set. And we're just going to put in the, so if you notice, element 1 is num1. So we're going to put element 0 here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, this is a little annoying. I'm going to change it to 123. And as you can see, it automatically renders whatever I've written here. And yeah. So if we go into this, and you'll notice that it is actually higher above our object. We don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our script. And if we see this, we're going to go here, set it to 0. And then we're going to update this to, there we go. See? And now we've got a numeric object that's up here. And then if we want it to be smaller, all we got to do is just scale it. Scale it and move it around. So if we got our timer, so Mario's got 999 seconds left on the clock. And you can just keep on, 998, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. And these are all publicly accessible. So in a script, you could just simply access this number, this string, and update it using a timer class, which is something that you will actually be covering in a future lesson. And yeah, but what if you want to change it? Well, right now it's kind of annoying. Right now you got to manually go in, drag and drop every single number bit by bit. And then, it works. Obviously, I can use any sprites I want. If I want to put, 5 white in here and then add a, I can. It doesn't break anything. It's entirely up to me. But as you can see, the number of digits changes, but you can't actually update it. You can uncheck. But basically, what if I want something easier to use? Well, there actually is something that you can do. And first things first is we're actually going to go to menu and create it. So we're going to create a thing called a scriptable object. And a scriptable object is basically just a very simple, we're going to call it scriptable number font. And it's just a very simple object that you can use to create very quick and simple assets. So all we're going to do is public sprite number sprites equals new sprite 10. That's it. That's all. And we're going to make it inherit scriptable object. And that's it. That's our scriptable object. So as of right now, we can't create any of these objects. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to do something that we haven't done in any of these tutorials yet. We are going to create a utility script called make scriptable object. Go in here. Interestingly, it tried to load up everything again. So this shouldn't be a mono behavior. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to add an if Unity editor, and we're going to use the Unity editor. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to modify what our editor shows us when we right click. And you can make as many custom editors as you want, but we figured we wouldn't go too in depth with this, since it can be confusing. But showing it off is a really cool portion of what Unity can do. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add a menu item, and said menu item is going to be assets, /create / scriptable object / number font is what we're going to call it. And we're just going to do public static void create my asset. And it's going to be scriptable number font asset equals scriptable object dot create instance scriptable number font. And then it's just going to asset database dot create asset. And we're going to just call it asset. And then assets / scriptable object / number font / new number font dot asset. And then asset database dot save assets, and then editor utility, and all it's going to do is focus on the project window and then set our active selection equal to our new asset. And that's it. That's all. That's our make scriptable object. Now if we close that, and we make sure to create those folders exactly as we name them. So scriptable objects, and then create number fonts. And then we write create. Down here, this new scriptable object option has appeared. Number font. And there we go. It's empty, but we're going to call it big white font. We're going to create another one and another one. Or actually, we need to change it. So small red font. And then we're going to create one more small white font. And then, so for big white font, we are going to lock this. If you press on the lock button, if I click on anything else, it won't change what's in the inspector. So what we're going to do is go over to sprite sheets. And then we're going to, so big white font. So we want num0, num1, num2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. So that's our first one. Then we're going to unlock it. Click on small red, lock it again. Go back to sprite sheets. Put in our 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's the end of that. We go back to number fonts, unlock it, and then lock it again after clicking on small white. And then we're just going to finish it off with our num0, num1 small, num2 small, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now that we've got this in here, we've got, our three different fonts. How are we going to use them? Well, so currently we're just using this. But if we go back into our menu and then NumberDisplayDefinition, we can modify it so that we use a scriptable number font instead. So you see right here, if we change it to scriptable number font, and then number sprites, we go down here, remove this, change it to NumberSprites.NumberSprites at, so if we Control Z, go back, we can actually just remove this, NumberSprites.NumberSprites, and then it will access the exact same data. So currently it's going to yell at us because we don't actually have any digits to set right now. So if we just change it to big white, and then 1, 2, and if we change it to small red, and small white, and you'll notice one really funny thing. So white gets very big. And the reason for that is actually because in our prefab, we set preserve aspect ratio. So now that I've unset it, if we go over here, you'll actually notice that now they're all the same size. And if I, resize, it doesn't really mess anything up. And then, just things like this. And that's all. And that's it. So now you've got a simple and easy way to create new sprites, new fonts, etc. But that is all for today's tutorial. Next week, you'll actually be starting on creating the gameplay of your Mario game that we've been creating in this World 1-1 scene. None of this will be here when you start, but that's okay. And that's pretty much it. On to the recap, everyone.